What does this have to do with? Now this is going to get a little bit interesting. And we're going to go into the trucks. We still got some time. Hold tight. I know a lot of people left because we haven't gotten to the trucks yet. But we got to get these points out. Okay. This is shout out to Kitty Suit. By the way, Kitty Suit, I got your hologram video. And I'm going to be covering that in the Saturday show. Thank you for sending me that. Because Saturday we're going to be going into the metaverse, and we're going to be going into something called, well, I won't say just yet, but we're going to be going into the Billy Goat Gates former wife's empire, which is massive. Yeah, we got some stuff to discuss on Saturday. Oh, and I thank you for that hologram video because that fits directly into the metaverse segment. A lot of weird crap coming, guys. Weird crap these guys got lined up. Really, really weird. But we're going to analyze it. So when we see it being pushed, we'll know exactly what it is. And we'll be ready to say, nope. Not in my house. Ain't having it. All right. So now this is going to be interesting. I don't know if you guys noticed that there's been some stories, even in the mainstream, that have somewhat been exposing some of the reactions to the jibba jab. Actually, even allowing the idea to be put out there that possibly these things have side effects and could be negatively impacting certain people. Have you seen this weird limited hangout in regard to this idea? Limited hangout, meaning they limit the amount of information that to hang out. Only certain things hang out to be seen or heard. Have you guys been hearing about this? Yeah. What is that about? Why were they silencing people early on that were coming out with this? Now they're allowing all of this information to come out. Even the doctor I just showed you earlier. Why are they having these talks, these professional talks in the public? Well, just an idea. I try to provide perspective. I try to give you guys multiple ways of looking at these things. I know for sure that our medical industry is changing, clearly. They want us in our homes. So if we're no longer in the hospitals and we're at home, what's the situation when you're at home? You're by yourself. You're by yourself. When you're at the hospital, you're with many people, many patients. When you're at a hospital, you have a doctor that deals with many patients. But when you're at home, you're by yourself. The doctor's not dealing with many patients. In fact, you might have a type of AI doctor that's has a type of special. This doctor has been picked for you based on what? Yeah, virtual doctor, Mark Ash. Yes, that's where everything is going. But what's important here is something in a concept we've discussed before: personal medicine. Be prepared to hear this term much more over the next couple years, several years. Personal medicine. You want to hear a crazy problem reaction solution? This is crazy. It's just like to think that people, well, we understand the system's satanic, so it makes sense, right? Okay. What if this jab, knowing that this thing isn't what they say it is, that's obvious. But what if, and it was rushed. We know it was rushed, project or Operation Warp Speed. It was rushed on the people. Some blue-pilled people say, well, mRNA has been studied for many years. It hasn't been tested on humans for many years. Okay. You guys are still living in your little virtual computer modeling world. I'm talking about the real world, real bodies, real physical people. This stuff has never been tested on human beings in an objective material sense, right? So I don't care how many years you've gone over the potential effects through your models on your computers. That's not actually testing on humans. You see how the virtuality is now equated to material reality? That's creepy when you see that type of change happening. Something to pay attention to. What if they rushed this thing on purpose? What if they foisted this thing upon the populations of people on purpose, just so that once all of these injuries occur, once all of these complications occur, they sit back and say, wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. We can't even begin to think that a one-size-fits-all jab will heal all populations. I mean, people are different. People have different genetic makeups. They have different genetic histories. How foolish of us. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We went about this whole thing wrong. God, it's the emergencies, and we were just trying to do the right thing. We were pressured. You know what's best? New personalized therapies that are designed, computer generated, designed and fit just for you. Just for you. And check this. You don't even have to go to the hospital. We'll send it directly to your home. Personalized inoculation. Made for you. This got to make someone feel special. Oh, you made that you made that just for me. You guys are so sweet. For me? See, they do care about us. The medical industry really cares about us because they're willing to make individualized, customized care for every single one of us. And guess what? They have the technology now. They have the AI. They have the data analytics. They have the computer power. They have the brain power, right? To actually be able to do such a thing. Because one size fits all jabs may prove dangerous and risky. Yeah. What if they did all of that? Problem, reaction, solution. The problem is, oh no, guys, 2 years later, because you got to wait 2 years, right? You got to wait. If you want to see if there's side effects, well, if you want to see if there's side effects that take 2 years, after 2 years, well, that takes 2 years. Yeah. That takes 2 years. Well, what if 2 years goes by, 3 years, 4 years, and there's this rash of complications? There's maybe expirations, people actually dying, or a rash of severe autoimmune issues in a mass scale. That'd be the perfect problem for the perfect reaction. How could you guys do this to us? How could you just give this one-size-fit-all jab to the whole population, to the whole earth, and think that it's not going to hurt a lot of people just based on just the genetic differences of us all? How could you do this to us? How could you just be so haphazard with this type of new experimental technology? You just throw it on all of us and even twist our arms to put it in our bodies, even hang our children and our jobs and our livelihood over our heads just so we can try your new thing. And then a few years later, we're all hurting. We're not all of us, but many of us are suffering from this thing. And the response is like, what? Oops. Is that your response? Oops. And then they go, hey, well, guess what? We have this new system. It's called the, personalized medicine, customized care. We made a mistake, but we have a whole new system with AI technology that's way smarter than these silly little human doctors that we have that have proven to be incompetent. Look at what Fauci did. Look at what all of these, look at what the WHO, look at what the CDC has done. We can't trust these people anymore. We have a digitized governance system that has a public health department And it's all AI controlled. Massive forms of big data and databases that know how to read these things and understand these things way better than us silly humans. 2025. As soon as 2025. Reaction, or no, problem. Many people expire, many people suffer from generalized and severe autoimmune issues. Reaction, we need more patient-specific care. One-size-fits-all inoculation is not the way to go. Solution, fourth industrial customized care. Just an idea. Possibly all of this could have been just to push us into, of course, this new digital system. But outside of the medical industry, outside of hospitals. Now we know third world countries, developing countries, places that, you know, are still in infancy in many different ways, won't even see any of this stuff. But you better believe California, places like California, or at least parts of California, New York, these places are going to have the biggest, most luxurious hospitals with all of these robotic systems for those specialized things that you have to come in for. But they'll also have the at-home system that most of the people living in those areas will sign up for. And many of us who are awake to these things and aware of these things will be stuck dealing with nature, dealing with faith in the Most High, and focusing on our own lifestyles to keep us alive and healthy. We will no longer be able to rely on these systems to take care of us. Now, I want to believe that there will be professionals, physicians, as it were, that understand these things too. And we create our own economies, of course, but even our own health, or should we say public health industries. It's a possibility, right? I could see it happening. We'll be forced to. And I know there's going to be doctors who are aware, and they're going to step up and they're going to say, you know what, that's fine. We'll create our own industries. We're going to have to. I could see these things happening. That's why there's light at the end of the tunnel, really. Because we will come together and create our own breakaway societies. I'm almost sure of it. I mean, it's logical for one, right? And it's natural for two. I think it would be just self-preservation is a part of the human condition. And I think that alone will create these dynamics. Keep cash, says Plumber Works. Absolutely. You know what I do? I try my best to spend cash. Keep a little bit amount for, I try not to spend money at all, really. But, you know, when you can, use cash. Definitely use cash, guys. We have to keep these things alive. Change is coming. New technologies are coming. They're coming, right? But this doesn't mean old ways of things have to vanish. We have to keep some form of integration. We have to keep some things working and relevant in the system. See, the moment they start bringing in all this blockchain, crypto stuff and cash and all of those more independent ways of surviving go away, then we're really locked in. And I see blockchain and cryptos as being the gateway towards that one system of digital currency. And I know a lot of you guys out there are on the crypto stuff. I get it, but I just think it's a little naive to think that they're not going to have full control of that system. And maybe they won't. You know, I have to be a little optimistic about some of these things. Maybe we will have a little area where we can survive in this digital crypto world. I don't know. I don't know. But I think instead of focusing and heavily investing in that crypto blockchain world, we should be focusing on our already functioning cash-based, untraceable world. They call people the unbanked. I think that's just a way to demonize people who want to live outside of the system. We're going to have to just find ways to survive, and we will. I have no questions to ask. I have no doubts. I truly believe the Most High will make this so. Now let me just show you this interesting individual here who you all are very familiar with. Got to get moving here. This is the perfect example of behavior modeling Okay, these people are all propagandists. They are social engineers hired by social engineers to accomplish social engineering programs. But her perspective is not only insane, completely out of touch with reality, but fully bought into the system and this computer modeling program that we've been undergoing for 2 years now. This behavior here is precisely how they want everyone to think. And this is pure insanity. No other word for it. Pure insanity. Check this out. Listen to the logic. And then apply what we've been discussing here today to this situation. Check it out.
Here's my home studio. This time, the reason that I'm here is that I have had a recent COVID exposure. I'm vaccinated and boosted. I have tested negative so far, but I was definitely exposed to somebody who is symptomatic and positive. So, you know, for this job, I cannot wear a mask in the studio while I am doing this job. So that means I cannot go to the studio and risk infecting any of my beloved coworkers or anybody else in that space. So,
can you believe it? Can you believe this? I mean, this is pure insanity. This whole perspective, her whole thought process is based on absolutely nothing. It's completely, it's imagination. It's pure fantasy. It's amazing to me. She's like, I don't even have to repeat it. You heard it. It's just insane. And this is the type of thinking they want the majority of the population to have.
Again, I'm fine. There's absolutely nothing to worry about whatsoever.
She's fine. There's absolutely nothing to worry about because she's not sick. She has no symptoms. It's just the test told her that she did. See, this is another way to get the general population to outsource their intelligence, all of their thought processes and ability to judge, to make judgments on reality. Outsource this ability to experts, and not just experts anymore, but technology. That's the important thing. Outsource your own ability to make judgments on reality to tests and forms of technology. You want to talk about disarm a population intellectually. This is what you see.
Whatsoever, I'm just trying to do my part to make sure I don't put anybody else at risk. So please forgive.
And then there's the behavior modeling of weaponized empathy. I just want to make sure I don't put anyone at risk. This is about other people. I'm willing to stay home, not go to work for no reason at all outside of some test that said I'm sick, even though I'm not. I'm totally fine. But just because this test said that now, I want to make sure that I stay home and change my life and suffer from discomfort just so I could keep other people from possibly getting sick, even though I'm not. Makes no sense. No sense at all. And this is another form of behavior modeling where they want us to have this same type of, I would call it malignant empathy. Anyone that has this level of empathy whereby they're doing things for other people in ways that doesn't only make sense, but it's actually hurting yourself. That's a pathology there. That's pathological behavior.
This, actually, I had makeup space. So again, I'm fine. There's absolutely nothing to worry about whatsoever. I'm just trying to do my part to make sure I don't put anybody else at risk. So
that's the key. Trying to do my part. That has been a form of manipulation for the past 2 years now. Just do your part. And if you're not doing your part, you're not part of this. You're not trying to help the greater good. Totally fake. Totally fake. It's just pure propaganda. Yeah. Who's that? I am Kyle. Yeah, totally fake. It's all nonsense. Social engineering. That's all that is. Behavior modeling. This is how we want people to behave. This is the model. See, all you guys, this very respected media figure and how they're thinking, you should think the same way. That's what that is. And then you get stuff like this, which is just, hilarious. And it gives us an opportunity to laugh a little bit and have some fun. But it's still very sad when you think about it. And even her shirt says so much. Check this out.
Ready?
Ready.
Roll call. My name's Nicole, and I'm a doc for kids, and I help parents not lift their lids. Woo! Ready?
Ready.
Roll call.
I'm Dr. Todd. I know the tricks to keeping kids from getting sick.
what are we gonna do? It's like people just don't believe us anymore.
I know, Nicole. You know what? These people would rather just listen to some.
Science is like magic, but real. It's so ironic, right? Science is like magic, but real. Now, when we go to the beginning of science, where did science begin? Alchemy, which was at the time a form of magic. So science has a direct correlation and strong history and relationship with magic in many, many ways. So it's ironic in that sense, as if it's not like magic. They're trying to say, oh, it's like magic, as if it's not, because it began through the forms of magic. And then it says, but real, as if magic isn't real, but science is. And then we consider the whole show today proving that nothing we've been told is empirical, therefore not science. Then all the pieces fall together. You start to realize how truly insane many people are today, such that they create these completely false forms of fashion, whereby they wear complete idiotic statements on their shirts as a form of virtue. Crazy.
Some random person or somebody on social media, I bet they couldn't even pass Mr. Jenkins' 9th grade science class.
I totally know what you're saying, Todd. But what are we gonna do?
I don't know. Maybe. Wait. What if we created the perfect cheer?
Vaccinate! 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 Vaccinate!
Okay, I can't. I can't. I cannot. Can't. I'm closing this tab right now. Bye. Done. Okay. You get it. That one just kind of almost made me throw up in my mouth a little bit. I can't do it. I just can't do it. Now let's talk about trucking. Now we're going to talk about trucking. Okay, let's see. We've been on 2.5 hours. Okay, we're doing all right. That gives us about 30 minutes to get through this, give or take 10 or 15. Let's try our best here. All right, you guys get the point, though, with these people. It's become not just political, but it's become religious. It's become just pure religion at this point. I hate to be so spicy about this stuff, man, but I can't help but get really, really irritated, and just the sarcasm in me just drips from my face. I'm sorry. This crap is just, oh man. Anyways, let's talk about trucking. Canada. This whole thing, we've discussed the double cross, the concept of double cross. We've discussed the concept of a new civil rights movement. We've discussed the idea of many of these truckers being sincere and doing the right thing, and the leveraging and exploiting of our free will, the general will of the people to come together to fight for their rights. They're weaponizing the general will of the people. We discussed the Rousseauian concept of general will. This kind of almost, it's almost like a Jungian collective unconsciousness, right? If we want to look at it in these terms. An egregore could be used as well. That type of spirit, right? That's a natural spirit of the natural human spirit to come together and fight, you know. Also the naturalist or the materialist biological concept of self-preservation is another one. We're being pushed in a corner such that we feel that our lives are being threatened and our survival is at stake. So we come together and do what we think is best to accomplish that fight, or at least to become or to be victorious in that fight. All of these things help kind of put some of these things together as far as understanding, but something that is part of this and relates to this whole idea of automation, whether that be of automation and the digitization of society, the human being, turning the human being into a sensor. That's really what the Internet of Bodies is about. And you will have to be this type of sensor in order to operate or be operated on in this new medical digital system, right? but also we have the automation of the trucking industry. And we've talked about this before. We covered the company Aurora several months back, but now I want to, especially because of this Canada situation, I want to return to this idea, and I want to show you more evidence for this and some new companies that are making some headway here, all beneath the nose of all the people out there supporting the truckers. Not to say they shouldn't support the truckers. I don't want to make that I'm not making that claim, but I do understand that this thing is very likely controlled. I'd say it is controlled just because it's pretty obvious, but also there's other aspects of this that don't have anything to do with destabilizing supply chains, even though that's probably the main aspect of this. It's also about another type of transition. Just as they're transitioning from the objective empirical science to this type of computer-based a modeling system, technology, whatever, just like we're going from in-person general practice medicine in hospitals to this type of home spittle where you get connected to some AI that understands you and only you and creates this kind of customized care, personal medicine just for your genetic makeup. We're also going from this fuel-based, man-driven or manned trucking industry to a type of automated industry. Automation, of course, means the lack of need for human intervention. In other words, computers controlling things, not humans. Now, of course, initially we see humans have to be a part of it. We man the machine. The technology will take many years to be able to function on its own. That's when the real interesting time happens, because what are we going to do when all the systems are operating on their own? But initially, in the early stages of this tech, they need us to man it and to manage it. So let's talk about this company first that is making all types of noise right now during this, interestingly enough. And of course, Elon Musk is investing in all of this automated trucking. He also seems to be supporting heavily this Canadian convoy. Speaking of convoy, let's look at the company Convoy. Of course, out of Seattle, Washington, another region, area in the United States that is leading the way in tracking and tracing application technology by way of Health Pass. They're also one of the leading regions that has been using the Clear Health Pass technology. But we also understand that this is where Microsoft is, and this is where Bill Gates is from. All of these things make a whole lot of sense when you start putting the pieces together. These are the leading regions, places like Seattle, places like San Francisco, places like New York, even places like Houston. Houston has a problem. Houston is one of the leading smart city technology, or should we say smart tech cities in the United States. As far as the technology is concerned, a lot of stuff is going on in Houston. Keep an eye on Houston. And energy production. Houston is huge, right? We studied that, or we referred to that in the NRG situation, the NRG Stadium at Astroworld event, which all has something to do with all of these new technological leaps that we will be taking over the next 10 years. 2020 to 2030 will be the most technological advanced and transitional period we've ever seen in human history, basically. So here we are, Convoy, the leading digital freight network. Now, this is an automated truck, so I'm going to give you guys stages here. So what we have here is 3 stages, because everything's incremental, and we also understand that technology, especially of this level, develops slowly, right? And we'll have problems and needs to have steps and stages in order to accomplish the end, right? So first we have just basic digital logistics. That's what you'll find here with Convoy. Similar to what you find with things like Uber and Lyft. These companies have taken the common or simple concept of delivery, but have restructured the logistics of how things are delivered by way of application, smart technology, of course, but also the utilization of artificial intelligence. So what they've done is things like Uber things like Lyft. They've cornered the market as far as delivery and the taxi industry is concerned through their new form of digital logistics. What we see in Convoy is the same process, but for trucking. So really in this situation, this is an early stage, right? So let's give an example with, say, delivery services, right? An early delivery service would be, say, bike messenger services in San Francisco, for instance, that rely on walkie-talkies, right? And hard lines, communication that way, delivered by bike, by man, right? By human being. Very successful, cumbersome. These industries have been working for a very long time. What's the next step in that? Well, the next step is that they use smart technology, applications on phones. You saw that with this company Postmates, for instance. So then instead of the walkie-talkies, instead of the hard lines, you get this new form of digital logistics and digital communication by way of smart technology and the use of GPS, which changes the paradigm that existed prior, because prior delivery guys would use their brains. They would use their ability to think about a map in their mind. They would be able to understand the regions and the geographic locations based on a type of mental image. It has a lot to do with increasing memory and understanding the world around you and creating 3D models in the mind. All of this has to do with cognitive production and health, right? Cognitive health. But in this sense, we outsource those abilities to digital technology, especially GPS. GPS ruins the memory. GPS ruins spatial intelligence, right? So we go to this type of, everything's on a smartphone now. Now we just follow GPS. We communicate everything through the phone. The next step from that would, of course, be things like drones, whereby everything is digitally logistic. Everything is manned by machine. The physical person is no longer needed to deliver, right? The communication is simply done through text for the most part, digital texting. You see the steps, the stages. We're going to see, it's already happening. We're going to see similar steps in trucking. Now, I don't believe this is going to actually succeed as far as 100%. There's no way that the trucking industry is going to be controlled 100% by AI trucks. It's just impossible in my view, at least in any universal sense. It may exist in certain wealthy and high-tech areas. And we could say the same thing for delivery, like Uber and Postmates and all of these food delivery services haven't removed traditional forms of delivery that you would find in men on bikes. Those industries still exist, especially in the third world. And those industries started to begin in the around 2008, 2009, these types of businesses, smart tech delivery services started. So they've been around for more than 10 years. And they haven't removed all of these other industries just yet. So that can give us a little historical understanding and grounds to assume that these industries will work similar, maybe not the same way, but somewhat similar. The trucking industry is too huge, it's too much. There's no way they're going to destroy this industry. And I think truckers will fight back as well. So now what we see, just like we saw the implementation of smart technology in delivery services like Postmates, now we see the same type of thing going on here in Convoy. So what they've done now is they've created digital logistics that control the shipping, let's say the routes, delivery routes, communication. Everything is done through smart technology. Let's see exactly what that means. First, let's look at some of their supporters. Procter & Gamble, Unilever. I don't got to show you much more. Those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, you know what that means. Right? Anheuser-Busch, that's another one. Of course, LG Electronics. Right? So we see who's behind this. Big food, big tech. All these companies are massive. These are like massive companies behind this. There's purpose behind that. So let's watch this little thing here, just to get an idea of what this is. Okay? Check this out.
I've been driving for 7 years, and I'm a third generation lady trucking. I've been driving for about 7 years. I am the first driver in my family.
I've been driving for 9 years. I started because of my dad. It's in my blood.
Antes de conocer a Convoy, antes de que no estábamos con Convoy, trabajamos con otro broker. Era totalmente difícil.
I was calling brokers on the daily. You can be 30 brokers in calling before you can find a load.
I had to take what was given.
We didn't have a lot of freedom. We will take orders like, you do this, you're doing this.
With Convoy, it's a lot different. Convoy has an app set up perfectly. So not only are you bidding on loads, or not only do they show you your lane, but they have comeback loads. It's a game changer.
As a new carrier working with Convoy, I had access to the prime loads from the very beginning.
You can plan your life a lot better with Convoy, and you can book loads straight through the app, and you know what you're doing this time, a couple days from now. That's a lot easier on the family.
It's one photo, one upload on the app, and I'm done.
With the quick pay from Convoy is like no percentage taken off, and you get your money in 2-3 days. I feel like we both win because the shippers are happy that their product is getting one place to another on time when they need it. We take pride on our work. It's just a whole circle that if we're doing good, everybody's looking good around us.
With Power Only, they're able to load their trailers on their own pace and schedule when the delivery can be picked up.
It's a win-win for the shippers and the drivers. There's transparency, no hidden fees, no hidden costs. Everything is there.
La tecnología de Convoy te da la facilidad de no correr millas vacíos.
They can give you round trips, which then makes less deadhead miles, which are better for the environment. And not
You see, it's all about the environment, right? Better for the environment, more convenient, saves on gas, just logistics. And from the perspective of delivery, this makes sense. That's the thing. That's the thing. A lot of this stuff, these new technologies make sense, right? Because they've created scarcity. They've created a lot of error in our industries. There's a lot of room for improvement. And the problem is a lot of this technology fixes a lot of those problems. So it's very easy for people to think that these are great things. That's the hardest part about this, because a lot of this stuff makes sense. But then when people realize the logic, right, the conclusion to this logic is full spectrum dominance and the digitization and quantification of human life and turning human beings into pure information. When you follow the logic all the way to the end, that's the end. See, most everyday people today, aren't thinking in the sense of where is this logic going to lead. So that's the worst part about all of this. It's like a slippery slope situation.
Not only that, it saves money and puts money back in the company.
I have kids. I have daughters.
Here we go with the emotional appeals. This is getting the heartstrings here. I have kids. I have daughters. This is helping the environment. I'm a good person. We're in this together, right?
We're going to grow up in a healthy environment.
In a healthy environment, they say. Very interesting. Pay attention. Health, public health, healthy environment. Everything is about health. No disrespect to the dude. I don't know the guy, but go to his house and open his refrigerator and let's see how serious he is about health.
We're looking into a couple of decades into the future.
I can't live without Convoy right now.
Truck, yeah. All right. So there's Convoy, right? I wanted to show Convoy because I think Convoy is a good example of that first step. Incremental steps, remember. They can't just pull out automated trucks, though they have them. Okay. If they can work their way into this through a type of early stage digital logistics system, it works because what does this do? This creates the digital infrastructure needed to facilitate the later automated system. You need the digital infrastructure first. We see that being built today as far as the health passes are concerned, the green passes and all of this, showing your papers everywhere. That practice that many people are complying, or that practice that many people are willing to do, is not only taking away their freedom and their rights, but it's also allowing these companies to sell their products and create the digital infrastructure system that is going to later be used to organize this, full spectrum dominance type of biosecurity state, right? So this is how they incrementally creep these things onto us, by slowly changing the infrastructure, the foundation. That's why in the Christian faith, your foundation is so important. What you believe, what you think you know. If there's no strong foundation that's rooted in truth, everything you'll do in life won't make much sense and will probably bring you trouble, right? Similar in this sense, they have to create the foundation first. If they create the strong foundation later on, everything will work from that foundation. So if you make the foundation fully digital, why not make everything digital? Even people. Okay. Now it gets interesting. Now we're going to get into this movement of automation. All right. So let's go into this. Amazon Vet. Now we're going to start tying some things together. We're going to start connecting some dots now. Okay. Let's connect some dots. What is Amazon big for? It's almost like our own factory to the world at this point. But delivery. Delivery. Simple delivery services of all kinds are going digital, are going automated and virtual. NFT, for example, is a virtual delivery product system. But now, of course, Amazon Vet, Dorothy Lee. Interesting. I'm not going to speak on that. But you guys see you guys see the consistencies here, right? Yeah, DB Vision. You know what I'm trying to say. You guys see it. Trucking Convoy at CTO says company is at its inflection point, meaning it's ready. It's ready to take on the change. Yeah, there will be Amazon cities, I think. I truly believe there will be Amazon cities. And what I mean by that is Amazon factory will be housing people. And there will be Amazon stores in the housing. And you don't ever have to leave your facility, your compound, your prison. You don't ever have to leave. I've talked about this before, these 15, 20-minute cities. They'll be funded by, and how can we say this? Funded by, built by, just fully supported by things like Amazon. Walmart is another one that will probably be Walmart cities. I remember Jay Dyer used to talk about Target cities. All of these ideas, right? They're coming in certain areas. Hence the point made earlier. Many of us in those areas might have to move at one point. So don't be afraid. Don't be scared of any of this stuff. Just pack your bags and get the heck out of Dodge. And just as long as you know that might be a possibility, you should be fine, right? We just have to be prepared for these things that they have planned for us, because they do have them planned and they're investing billions of dollars into them. Let's go over it. Dorothy Lee, a 23-year Amazon vet who helped launch game-changing innovations such as Prime to Kindle, is the latest experienced executive to join Convoy's leadership team. The Seattle startup today named Lee its new chief technology officer. She will oversee engineering teams building Convoy's digital freight network that matches shippers with truck drivers. So this is the digital logistics freight network, digital freight network. This is what they're specializing in, which is a very early stage to full spectrum automated delivery networks, right? So the first step is just to make a digital network first, right? So that matches shippers with truck drivers. So this is a middleman, a type of very integral aspect of delivery. So they're punching where it counts. They're going to the lifeblood, right? The beating heart of these industries. Okay, the systems, the foundation of these things, the infrastructure that allows these systems to exist. they're tackling those first, right? And wait till you see who owns all of this stuff and who's involved in all of it. Everything starts to make so much sense. Convoy is one of a handful of privately held companies in the Seattle region, valued at more than $1 billion, raising $400 million at a $2.7 billion valuation in November 2019. Mind you, this company started in 2015, guys. And they're already playing with money like this because they have big backing. Okay. 2015. That wasn't long ago. This thing is fast. This stuff is moving quickly. The startup backed by the likes of Bill Gates. Okay, first name out the gate. Bill Gates. Of course, it started in Seattle. It makes sense. But when you see who's behind this stuff, you get an idea of how it all is tied together. And it's all about full spectrum dominance. Backed by the likes of Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Mark Benioff, and others. Mark Benioff is a key name. I'm going to go into him in a second here. This guy is very important. Big time. Bigger than Bill Gates in this regard. And I'll show you why in a second here. Well, I don't want to say bigger than Bill Gates. It's hard to say, but this guy flies under the radar. Everyone talks about Gates. Everyone talks about Bezos. This guy flies under the radar. But he plays a huge role in a lot of this. But then you think all three of these dudes are pumping money into Convoy, which is a digital logistics network system for trucking. And then you consider the fact that we're having some massive trucking strike and the potential for supply chain breakdown and the need for truckers. They could easily replace those truckers if these systems were put together in enough time, right? Interesting. Cornering the market at the expense of others. Goodale was previously CTO. He will transition to a new role overseeing the company's carrier marketplace. Let me go down here a little bit. Let's see. So check this out. This is interesting. This is similar to the arguments they made for China, right? Where they say, well, China didn't suffer so much through the pandemic because they did the right things. You know, hence this pointing at the China model. They make a similar argument here. Convoy was able to weather the pandemic-driven volatility that rocked the U.S. trucking industry. There are ongoing global container shipping delays, but Lewis said it hasn't impacted Convoy as the company's business isn't reliant on how containers come in and out of ports. So this is similar. Well, China doesn't rely on the individualistic systems of the West. China doesn't rely on the way, the political and cultural systems work. They get to drop the hammer when they want. They have the people's compliance and order. See, China has this type of collectivist, non-individualistic culture that allows the state to make decisions and create impacts on the world immediately. See, the West doesn't have that, so they suffered more. Similar here, well, the trucking industry doesn't have the digital technologies and all of the new automated systems that groups like Convoy have. It's always pushing towards that model they want. It's kind of like how people talk bad about other people to make themselves feel good about themselves. Similar. Then there is the trucking industry labor shortage. And this is a lie. There is no real labor shortage. This is also a lie because what they want to do is get more automated systems. And also we showed how they want to start hiring younger people. Even teenagers, 18-year-old, 19-year-olds are now being looked to, they're training young people now to take these positions. We talked quite a bit about that last show. Though some question whether it is an actual shortage or just a retention problem. Regardless, Lewis said a lack of drivers doesn't have a material impact on Convoy because it targets smaller carriers or the long tail of the trucking companies that are actually really available and active. Very interesting. We won't read this whole thing. There are a lot of industries that wish they would have done that earlier. What did he say? Okay, so they're just totally changing the whole dynamic, creating more local aspect of it, which is interesting. But the point is, it's more localized, more national, smaller system as far as maybe compartmentalizing things a bit, right? But it's still reliant on what? The digital logistics, their digital systems, which all will be later tied into automated systems. So this is the first step. We have Convoy, right? Let's listen to the Convoy CEO, I believe. Yes, CEO. Check him out.
All of the truck drivers and small trucking companies that are working with Convoy use the Convoy app on their phone. That lets us know where they are, so we can get them freight that's relevant for what they want to run. On the other side, the shippers...
Real quick, as I stated earlier, this model is precisely how the delivery service modeling works in food delivery. So this company is very similar to Postmates in its technology and its digital logistics. Very, very interesting. How it's the same model, it's just being transferred into different industries. It's so fascinating because it's very easy to see. It's so basic and simple. And it's shocking how more people aren't realizing how dependent this creates societies. Not just on the technology and electricity and the digital networks, but on the people who control those digital networks. The massive companies that are funded by giant corporations. It's amazing to me. And people say, oh, communism is coming. Absolutely not. This is next stage capitalism. This is a plutocracy, a corporate state merged capitalist system that roots out the joys and pleasures of capitalism in the lower rungs of people, the useless eaters, the cattle, us. This doesn't mean we won't be able to interact with capitalistic, this isn't as if we won't be able to interact with the markets, but very few of us will, because so many of us will be distracted by the toys and the pleasures, but also stuck in their little bureaucratic systems of social control, right?
We work with companies like Home Depot or Unilever or Anheuser-Busch are looking for more data about what happens when the truck shows up at their facility and how they can improve the experience for those truck drivers and get things in and out more efficiently. We give them tons of visibility and data into what's happening. So they can make better decisions and actually have a more successful experience working with trucks.
You mentioned some big name companies there, including Unilever. Who do you have partnerships with right now?
We work with dozens and dozens of large trucking companies, or large shippers and trucking companies. And in terms of specific partnerships, those are a few of the ones I can mention today. And we do a lot of business with them moving their freight around the country.
So it's been reported that America has a massive truck driver shortage, and a lot of these companies have to up the pay for these drivers to entice them. How is that affecting your business model at all?
You know, the truck driving shortage in this country is down to two things. One is we need to make the industry more accessible and more desirable for people to start working in. So
under their rule, though, we want to attract more truck drivers, but you have to agree to these digital systems. You have to agree to the smart technology. Basically, they're saying we're totally revolutionizing we're revolutionizing the entire industry. And yeah, you could join, but you're going to have to fit within this new industry. And all the old ways of things is gone. I don't think a lot of truckers will agree to that, but guess who will? All of the young Gen Zers who are disillusioned, right? And have been displaced in society, right? And who really are just disaffected and want and need work. This could be a new angle. It's really interesting how a lot of us older generations are going to be pushed out of markets because new digital, fancy, equitable, very efficient and technologically digital systems are going to be the only thing provided, which just fit perfectly for the Gen Z paradigm. And those of us are going to be stuck outside of that. And I could easily see that happening. And it's not just a generational thing, but it's a regional thing too, because many parts of the United States aren't up on all of this tech. You know, everyone isn't born in Silicon Valley or part of some fancy New York, bedroom neighborhood or bedroom cities, these areas where all of these professionals are at and stuff. Everyone's not around that kind of stuff. So it's really alienating a large population. And that's the creepiest part, how these guys come out with these companies and never consider the social effect, the cultural effect these types of technologies will have. And I understand because they are scaling businesses. They're trying to make money. They're trying to scale their technologies. That's truly what this is about. People lining pockets at the end of the day on the low level. But then you got the guys at the World Economic Forum who use these companies as arms to fulfill their bigger goals, right? And they rely on the narcissism and greed of these lower level corporate owners.
So how do you make it easier for a truck driver to run a small business? Well, you give them technology that helps them get jobs. How do you make it easier for them to get paid on time? Well, you give them technology that makes it so when they're waiting at a facility, they can track that and get paid. So, everything that we do is about making it more accessible and easier for truck drivers to run a business. That's going to help us have more capacity in this country.
Now, the company was founded in 2015.
Yeah.
You've got some big name backers, Mark Benioff of Salesforce, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, I can go on. The company's valued at about $1 billion. Any thoughts about going public? We're now seeing Uber and Lyft wanting to come to market.
You hear that? Uber and Lyft will be involved very shortly. We already see Amazon. They have their automated system called Plus, which is an actual automated trucking system, not this type of digital logistics system that still relies on the physical driving and the human or the manning of machines. Amazon has a company called Plus, and this is an automated truck, still somewhat managed. There's still a human in the truck. We'll get into that next. Let's just finish this.
Not right now.
Yeah.
We think that there's a lot of opportunity right now to just focus on building this company. Our investors, they want us to transform this business.
You hear that? Our investors. This is all about their investors. They're not even considering the repercussions, the disruption, the utter change of life and civilization in response to this type of new technology. Now, of course, on a small scale, this stuff probably is very successful and it probably works great. But again, this is just the foot in the door. This is the early stages. And a good way to look at this is music, for instance. Digital music, how much things have changed in the music industry and music production, music sales, and even the experience of music by way of things like Spotify, etc. Think about how things have changed over the past 15 years in that regard when we consider things like the digitization. Just like we've seen music transform, even our experience with music, whether that be live or just through MP3s, buying music, same processes, right, will occur in other industries, right? Very, very interesting and things to pay attention to.
It's an $800 billion industry. There's a long way to go to build a marketplace that really can change the way trucking is done. And if we do that successfully, we help shippers, we help truck drivers and trucking companies. We're going to create massive value for our investors. So they're really thinking about this for the long run.
You just closed around.
We're going to make massive money for our investors.
On $185 million.
That's right.
What are you doing with that money? Is that going into R&D? How are you using it?
A lot of it's going into R&D. A lot of it's going into thinking about, we've been great at connecting small trucking companies and truck drivers with work. How do we now go further and build tools that make it really great for a small business to run their company? How does it?
You see, it's very genius the way they play the small business role, the way they exploit the personalized business of the trucker, the individual business of the trucker who's trying to make a living to support his family or himself. It's very interesting the way they exploit these areas, the small business. They exploit the small business to create their infrastructure. And we know very well that companies like Amazon, Walmart, etc., will just buy up everything and push the little man right out. That's how it always works. Now, we remember we had mentioned Mark Benioff, a big supporter and funder, or has a lot to do with the funding with this company. Again, who's Mark Benioff? Well, let's check this guy out. Of course, right? Of course. Mark Benioff is chair, co-chief executive officer, and co-founder of Salesforce, one of the most massive social engineering financial company, and a pioneer of cloud computing. Interesting. Under Benioff's leadership, Salesforce is the #1 provider of customer relationship management software globally. Software, guys. It's all about software, the digitization and the virtuality that they want for our future. Benioff was named Innovator of the Decade by Forbes and is recognized as one of the world's 25 greatest leaders by Fortune, one of the 10 best performing CEOs by Harvard Business Review and the CNN Business CEO of 2020. For his leadership on equality, Benioff has been honored by GLAAD, the Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative, and Variety Magazine with its Empowerment Award. A member of the World Economic Forum Board of Trustees. Big dog in the game. He's not some young global leader. He is a member of the board of trustees. Benioff co-founded 1T.org, the global movement to conserve, restore, and grow 1 trillion trees. Oh, how nice. He's a tree hugger as well. And the WEF Friends of Ocean Action. He also serves as the inaugural chair of World Economic Forum's Forum Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution in San Francisco. Who's this guy? One of the main figures behind Convoy. It all connects, man. It's all there. No conspiracy theory. No theory needed. It's all fact. And to, the supporters, the Trump supporters, those that believe there's some sense of whatever in this guy, well, there's plenty out there to prove otherwise, not to mention Project Warp Speed, which is obvious. But look, guys, this is a gang. This is a gang. And I don't care if you're in it by blood. I don't care if you're in it by bank account. I don't care how these guys are connected to this system. They're connected. It's a gang, and they work together. Okay, they work together. This is a uniform movement, and they use each and every one of their little puppets to play their roles and to create little side organized movements, MAGA being an example. It's all by design, man. This is one big game and one big gang, right? Shout out to AM1. He always says a gang of psychopathic men, right? Check it out. Who do you think's running the show? I ain't saying, Schwab is running the show, but he's sitting back. He's like, good boy. Good boy, Trump. Good boy. Yes. I am the man. HNIC. Yes. Schwab. HNIC of the lower rung, right? Yes. I am the HNIC. Horrible example of Klaus Schwab, I know. But yeah, man. Future of trucking. Okay, so we had the convoys, right? We had the digital logistics. Now we have another system here. This is the next step. Prior to automation. This is the next step here.
Trucking is really the lifeblood of the U.S. economy. There's a great saying in the trucking industry, if you bought it, a truck brought it. Meaning, everything we use is pretty much is brought by trucks. We're developing a system to improve safety and efficiency of trucks by using advanced sensing and communications. You can think of it a little bit like cruise control in your car, in that we control the gas and the brake. But we do it for a pair of trucks using a direct communication link between those trucks. So as the driver of the rear truck, you are steering. The driver of the front truck steering as well. These are not automated trucks. We're just adding to the ability of the drivers. On the front truck, there's a radar sensor looking 800 feet down the road, sensing.
Now, this is interesting because this is the next step. You guys see this? So now this is beyond digital logistics. Now this is actual function. So now this is actual computer, or what they would argue, artificial intelligence controlling, remote control of the vehicles. Now the driver's still driving, but certain aspects of the truck are now automated. Certain aspects. This is very interesting because this company specifically provides a vehicle in between, or at least a technology in between that which you saw on Convoy and what you will see later by Aurora or say Auto or one of these other companies that provide a fully automated truck. This is that step between. So I'm showing you guys the incremental steps technologically to this type of one world, digital, full spectrum dominance, fourth industrial revolution, so-called society they have planned. These are all just different steps getting there.
Any obstacle, it detects that and then automatically applies the brakes. Automated trucks, we're just adding to the ability of the drivers. On the front truck, there's a radar sensor looking 800 feet down the road, sensing any obstacle. It detects that and then automatically applies the brakes in both trucks. The radar sensor can see farther than a human driver can reliably see, and it can do it every time. A human driver typically takes 1 to 2 seconds to react to whatever is in front of you.
Again, here he's making the argument for technology being superior to the human. Technological response being superior to human response. This couldn't be any more flawed of a perspective, especially from someone who actually understands human nature and the human experience and the being of human, the cognitive nature of human psychology, etc. I mean, it's clearly foolish what these people are actually saying, but companies like this, Peloton, etc., have big funding behind this. They have their careers are behind this. They're fully invested in this. A lot of money is going on in here. So, someone says you can't hear me. Can you guys not hear me? Am I not coming through? I'm getting my levels are okay. Can I get a thumbs up or you're good or something out there? A 5 times 5, 5 by 5? Before we continue, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me here because my levels are fine. I'm seeing. Just want to make sure. 5 by 5. Okay, good. All right. Might just be that one individual. Okay, so it's just interesting to me how this is the argument every time. You know, basically machines can function at a more efficient and accurate scale than the human being. And that's so flawed. Maybe that could be the case in certain industries, but that's extremely flawed when you think about trucking and delivery services and the fact that these things are going to be on the road. Very creepy.
Reliably see, and it can do it every time. A human driver typically takes 1 to 2 seconds to react to whatever is in front of you. We can do it in about 1/100th of a second. Inside the truck, we try to change the driver's experience as little as possible. We add, a video display on the windshield that shows you the view from the other truck, control to engage and disengage the system. But fundamentally, you're just driving your truck.
So now they go into the of course the climate change and Agenda 2030, Agenda 21, sustainability arguments. Oh, it cuts fuel costs. It's good on the environment. That whole thing. Though some of these things may be true, right? We do understand it's good to take care of the environment. It's good to do these things. But then you figure out what the circular economy is all about and how it leads us all into the Internet of Bodies. You realize, well, wait, hold up. You guys are exploiting climate change movements, even though we understand climate change is a bunch of BS as far as a concept. It's no different from global warming, which just seemed to vanish out of nowhere, right? It's interesting. But still, they always have that sales point. And I get it. It makes sense. So that was the in-between. So now you have these these like sub-automated vehicles. Only certain aspects of the truck have an automated capacity or function. Now we get into Aurora. We've already covered Aurora. Okay, we covered Aurora already. Let me just show you a quick part, just as evidence.
This semi-truck is driving itself. Built by PACCAR's Peterbilt, the autonomous technology comes from Aurora. As it pulls onto the road and heads for the interstate, it's seeing the world around it digitally, detecting other vehicles and deciding how to react.
On board, we use cameras, LiDAR, and radar to see the world. They can see not just where things are, but how fast they're moving.
For now, there's a safety driver behind the wheel and a co-pilot for backup. Aurora hopes to remove them by 2023, when it fully launches its trucking business commercially.
You hear that? So it's all incremental steps. So though it seems at the time jobs will be provided to truckers as technology management, they're managing or manning the machine. They plan on having full automation, which is no human intervention. So, okay, guys, you could work here for a year until we don't need you anymore. 2023. That's a year from now, man. Yeah, they're not playing. I mean, there's big money behind this. This stuff isn't talked about in the mainstream media, of course. I mean, you're too distracted by Whoopi Goldberg and Bill Maher and Joe Rogan, So that's all by design, really. When we think about things as important as supply chains in the trucking industry, which the country functions on, and the fact that they're trying to pull the rug from under all of our feet, interesting.
Like many startups in the space, Aurora is also working on passenger vehicles that can drive themselves in the form of fleets of robo-taxis. But it's big rigs hauling heavy loads of cargo where the company believe autonomous driving technology scales first.
If you think about driving down the freeway, it doesn't really matter where you are in the country. The freeway basically looks the same. Whereas if you're driving through a city, it's very different, right? And so to scale a product, you have to scale the technology, advance the technology in a bunch of different ways.
Efficiency. There it is. And it's a good point, trucking lane or the roads trucks are on, freeways and stuff. They're pretty, they're predictable, right? So it's easier to scale the technology opposed to something like an automated taxi in a very busy metropolitan area. So a lot of the arguments are accurate and very logical arguments. A lot of this is logical, but then you just have to look at the conclusion of the logic, and it's anti-human, and that's the biggest problem. That's why we focus on some of these things as far as technocracy is concerned, because it's ultimately anti-human. And they try to claim that they're pro-environment and all of that, but really it's the technological development at the expense of the human being, right? So now let's go to the next company. This one's called Too Simple, right? This is another one, a big dog in the game right now.
Too Simple making its public debut on the NASDAQ this morning. Ahead of that first trade, let's bring in Cheng Liu, President and CEO of Too Simple. Cheng, congratulations and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Good morning to you all. Morgan, great to see you again.
So coming off the heels of the biggest direct listing in history, Coinbase yesterday, and what's been just a tsunami of SPACs, why did you decide to go public through an IPO?
Sure. We went public through IPO because this is a tried and true process. The philosophy of Too Simple is we believe in transparency. As part of the IPO process, we've been vetted by major investors, research analysts, lawyers, strategic partners, and we believe that this adds the credibility that we want to present to the market.
Yeah, at $40 a share for the IPO price, you're raising more than $1.3 billion, a market value of about $8.5 billion. What are you going to put?
You see that? Look at the partners. Goodyear. Okay, so we got the rubber involved. Of course, that involves Africa. United States Postal Service. This will become a federal type of thing. So we see the federal, the state corporation merging. Union Pacific, Penske, all of these massive countries or companies working together, integrating their organizations because everything is being consolidated, even corporation. This is going to become a massive global digital system that will probably eventually forgo a lot of these independent names, and they will become one force, right? Like Skynet or something. They will become one force. I use these two terms, macroware and biotronica. Macroware being the macro software system that controls all AI for all industries and all institutions. And then biotronica is the same type of system, but for the public healthcare system. Why do you need all these independent companies? Why not just have one massive one? Makes a lot of sense, especially when you see the consolidation effort that's happening. And if you follow the logic, just like human beings are being consolidated as a group and transferred or turned into bits of data, as just like the human, the complex God created image of God is reduced to its data set. All of these massive corporations and all their industries and markets will be reduced to a singular type of a unipolar digital system. Metropia, I like that. Free will, good one. That's a good one.
Put that capital towards?
Of course, I mean, this is a huge milestone for the company. We are the first and only autonomous driving company to be publicly traded. It's really a validation of our shareholders' confidence in us and our technology. And as part of IPO, we'll be able to invest even more in our people and our operations.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pure not pure. This isn't pure capitalism. That's the wrong term. This is next stage capitalism. This is plutocratic capitalism. This is technocratic, techno-fascistic capitalism. This is capitalism. We're not going into communism, guys. People who keep saying that, you don't understand what communism is. There may be communistic aspects, absolutely, in the form of communitarianism, yes, in the form of standardized and state procured and administered products, things like healthcare, labor, and housing, for instance. So there's definitely communistic aspects for sure, but this is a new thing. It's unprecedented, just like the technology. So we can't call it communism, and we can't technically call it capitalism because it isn't pure capitalism. It's this new form, this next stage capitalism, right? So we have to be careful with the words and the terms that we use, because sometimes we water down what's actually going on by using the wrong terms, right? And it's easy to do that, especially when they're being thrown around all over the place.
And just talking about that technology a little bit, I think the last time you and I spoke was 2019, and
That's
you
right.
were announcing a partnership for self-driving trucks, a pilot, I should say, with the Postal
Yes.
Service. Since then, how have you expanded partnerships? How
Yeah.
many of your trucks do you have on the roads, not only here in the U.S., but in places like China?
Sure. So trucking, as we all know, is the backbone of what moves goods in America. Everything we use, we touch at home, at work, at schools, was at one point moved on a truck. In the same time, trucking is faced with some challenges, including driver shortage, driver turnover, and...
Okay, we're just going to get a lot of the same talking points here. I want to read a comment here that someone wrote. This is interesting in response. They say, there's not a driver shortage. I'm a trucker whose contract was canceled because these trucks are deadly. Deadly. I had 3 near accidents. And again, this is just a comment. So who knows? This guy could just be totally making this up, right? But I think it's just a perspective to consider. And I don't think this is far off, personally. At least I know this could be possible. And it's something I've always considered too, is the fact that these things will malfunction. The beginning of this whole automated car thing, I always thought was crazy. I always thought that was just crazy. You know it can't work very successfully. There will be a lot of error. And what will happen is we will have to change our perspective on what harm is. We will have to change our whole perspective on what danger is, on what risk is. And we will slowly start to accept higher levels of harm and higher levels of risk as they more and more redefine what these things mean for us. And we've already seen this happening through the medical industry as of late, specifically with the changing of the definition of so-called inoculations and jabs, but also the response to certain injuries from them. Now it is almost common for people to accept the fact that you might possibly expire due to a reaction from this thing, but it's for the greater good. Also, you'll find people that are willing to still get this thing, even though they've already contracted this thing. And they know very well that this thing will not keep them from contracting it again. And there's also potential for them having some type of illness from the thing, autoimmune issues, etc. See, we have slowly changed our perspective of what harm is. Remember, if we think about the medical industry, you first do no harm. That has completely changed because now we're purposely and actively harming babies, children, people of all sorts, of all demographics, because the definition of harm has changed over the last 2 years, if you're paying attention. Now they're putting out stuff saying it's normal for children to have heart attacks. Oh, be careful. Next 2 years, babies might have heart issues, but guess what? We got a pill for that. Pay attention how they slowly do these things and rearrange and fully restructure objective reality. I had one near fatal crash where a truck accidentally engaged in autonomous mode and almost took me into the entry point for trucks in a road construction zone because the lines of the road were painted differently. Simple AI mistake. AI is so flawed. It's amazing to me that they'll put this technology in the hands of, you guys know. Anyways, the trucks are deadly. Drivers are refusing to drive them, And we, the drivers, have no control or ability to disable the technology for safety concern. Again, removing the intervention of a human being. That's what automation is. This is an example of that. We have no ability to disable the technology we have no ability to disable technology lest it fails. Or at least we should be able to have the ability to disable the technology lest it fails. Perfect example here. The tech bros I like this comment here. He says, he finishes his point. The tech bros want to take over trucking, then fine, let them take it over. They're the ones who are going to be liable for this technology eventually. Very, very good points, man. That was some comment in the video. Yeah, and this is an example. This is too simple. Here you are here, just to give you an idea of who they're working with. Okay. Through this network, Too Simple will use its self-driving trucks to haul freight for parcel giant UPS. Okay. Yeah. Cornering the market of delivery, eventually removing human beings from the process. UPS will no longer be a very good source of income for us. UPS is a good place to get a job and make a decent living. It is. These things are changing. If they're successful, I do not believe they will be. I believe they will suffer a lot of consequences, just like we're going to suffer a lot of consequences in response to this new genetic technology everyone's shoving in their veins right now. We'll see. We will see. U.S. Express grocery and food service distributor McLane. Right? So big companies are working with these guys, man. This is serious business. And here's another one. This one is called Embark. Let's check this out.
Great to have you. And I'd love to start off with, perhaps to our viewers' surprise it may be, this is becoming a more competitive industry. You've got, two companies at least that are out there and public in some fashion, Too Simple and Plus. What differentiates Embark from those two competitors?
Yeah. Morning, David. Thanks for having me. Embark is certainly...
Mind you, interestingly, all of these companies have been getting tons of publicity and media attention. Well, they did in 2021. A lot of these reports are from 2021. Isn't it interesting how 2021 there was this, I'd say, a more than normal rash of interviewing these companies. And right after that in 2022, there's this whole trucker thing. It's just the way it's all coming together is rather interesting. And I would say suspect.
A unique story. I think the three things that really stand out are, firstly, the technology stack. Embark has been testing self-driving trucks on public roads in the U.S. longer than anybody else. The way that we go to market, by partnering with leading carriers as a software provider instead of trying to build our own fleet or our own truck.
Again, it's all software, okay? These guys are software companies. That's the most interesting thing of it all. Just like how Postmates came into the game, Uber came into the game having no experience in the taxi industry, Postmates having no experience in the bike messaging industry, just some software techie dudes that came in with this technology and totally cornered the market, ruining the entire industry and changing the lives of millions of workers and people in the labor force. Same thing here. These guys don't know anything about trucking. They don't know anything about the industry. They're software engineers. Wait. That sounds familiar. Where have I heard this before? Software engineers cornering a market that they have no experience or expertise in. Isn't the maker or the producer of Microsoft, Bill Gates, fully manning this whole public health situation we have? It's just all of this stuff is just very interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm off on something here, but you guys tell me.
and by being the hometown favorite. Embark is incredibly proud to be a U.S. company and to bring some U.S. technology talent to this critical industry.
Right. Now you have, partnerships that include HP, AB InBev, Frigidaire.
Huge companies, man. Huge companies. It's like they plan on being the future of delivery. And what's interesting is they provide a service. So they don't build the trucks. They don't do anything. They provide the software. So what happens is companies create an account or they create a relationship, a contract, and they just provide the analysis, the data, right? The analytics and the AI. Everyone else just provides the trucks. They have probably a whole different company that does that. But it's very interesting how these guys get to sit back in corner markets and actually control industries, full industries, and arguably one of the largest that exists, the trucking industry, from their own homes at a computer. This is the fourth industrial revolution, whereby virtuality is reality. And this isn't to say there's something wrong with making money online. That's how many of us are able to survive today. But it's different when you start totally controlling industries like food, right? Like just delivery of products to the entire country. Like, this is major stuff here. And they plan on being fully fledged and I'd say dominant or influential as far as our society is concerned by 2025. That's not very far off, right? It's not very far off.
But, Amazon recently got, or Plus, I should say, got some attention because it did sign a deal with Amazon in terms of Amazon taking a stake and quite a few trucks that they're going to be making autonomous there. Did you compete for that deal? Is it a concern to you at all that one of your competitors landed what may end up being a fairly large
Yeah, they ain't saying nothing. But yeah, look at this guy. He doesn't look a day over 20. He's just some clever software engineer. He probably has zero life experience outside of his office space with like white furniture and white desks and a white monitor for his, everything's like no color, no life. Everything's solid and sterile. That's how these tech types live. And that's how they experience the world, because everything is mechanized. Everything is system. Everything is machine. There's no quality. Everything's quantity. And they get together and they make these very clever and I'd say advanced, sophisticated forms of technology, and they take over our lives. And so we end up living out their dreams. That's the worst part. We're going to live out their dreams as well as their nightmares. And they will see what those nightmares will be once they start really unleashing this type of technology in a standard way. Like when this stuff becomes standard, just wait for the backlash. It's all the backlash is yet to come. That's the interesting part about this. It's like that calm before the storm, as they say.
People always come away impressed. And then the way that we're going to market. So Embark licenses our software on a per mile basis and partners with these carriers. And that's really distinct from the way that other people are approaching the market, where they're perhaps have more of a direct competition with the carriers, where we view ourselves ultimately as a great partner.
When I look at your potential revenue in out years, 24 to 25 seems to be a key inflection point for the company in terms of your expectations for both revenue and gross profit. Why is that, and what gives you the confidence that you're going to hit that, what is it, $1.9 billion gross profit estimate you have out there for 2025?
Yeah, I actually say that that's really just the beginning of the inflection point. This is a $700 billion industry, trucking in the United States. And so when we look at that, the number in 2025, we're really thinking about how that can continue to grow in 2026, 2027. Embark is laying the groundwork, has been for the last 5 years, to bring a commercial product to market. 2024 is when we expect to have that first in market. But I really think when we look at it, we see a really rapid growth after that. And that's driven in large part by the fact we're a software company. So we're able to scale up really, really quickly by leveraging the purchasing power and the operational expertise of some of the largest carriers in the country.
There it is. That last sentence says it all. We're a software company. And by that alone, we're able to exploit and leverage all big business and big industry, because software, the digitization and quantification of everything is the future if they have their way. But I personally believe all their technology is going to fail in a massive way. Unfortunately, many of us are going to suffer because of it. Some will even have to forego our lives. That's the hard part to deal with. And Walmart. So there's the next step, not just trucking, but delivery in general. Now we get into food delivery, but more importantly, grocery delivery. What's interesting about this is during this whole pandemic situation, what we discover is grocery shopping became a thing of the past, in that there were a lot of delivery services popped up. And just the fear to even go to the grocery store became a normal thing. But they have a remedy for that. They have a solution. A technological solution is always for that. And let's just watch this quick little clip here to get an understanding of that. This is not just trucking, but delivery in toto, as it were. Also, be looking out for drones. Drones will be a thing too. We've talked about that before, but check it out.
Walmart is further pulling back that curtain on its driverless delivery ambitions, giving CNBC an exclusive look at the vehicle that will help you get your groceries. No driver included. Frank Collin joining us now with more on Walmart's new test vehicle. Frank.
Hey, good morning to you, Brian. You know, Walmart had $208 billion in grocery sales last year and is now looking to gain market share by using fully autonomous, driverless trucks to move online grocery orders. Walmart partnered with Gatik, a startup focused on middle mile for B2B trucking. Take a look. These are gas-powered trucks. They operate 12 hours every day. They get loaded at warehouses that are called dark stores. Then they travel to Walmart's neighborhood market locations. They get unloaded, and then they go back for a 7-mile round trip. Aiming to improve efficiency, Walmart's moving to a hub-and-spoke model, operating smaller warehouses that are closer to customers, which requires more restocking. The founder of Gatik.
This is all in preparation for the what they would call the home life, right? Where everyone kind of stays home for everything. Now, for some of us, that won't be a big deal because that's what we do anyway. But for many people, especially more extroverted types, this will be a big problem. And we will see the extroverts doing a lot of the fighting, I think, too, especially against some of this stuff, because they're just not going to be able to survive and sustain this kind of experience. Now, again, this isn't to say technology is all bad. Of course, we rely on technologies to survive, to do our work. Technology is a great thing, especially some of these new forms of virtual technology that we have now to communicate and create communities like this. I mean, it's amazing, right? When you put it in the hand of the people, these things can be very productive, and they could be very enlightening, and they could also create new forms of engagement and community, new communities even. But when you put it in the hand of centralized power that actually doesn't have human beings' best interests in mind, then you have a problem, especially when you have massive organizations like World Economic Forum that are presenting a type of Great Reset or Fourth Industrial Revolution. It becomes an even bigger problem. So if we were going to think intelligently about this, we would realize that you can never, and this would go for any situation, you can never throw out the baby with the bathwater. And to think that that would even be an argument is silly and juvenile at that, right? To think that just because one is condemning a certain use of technology or certain form of development or a certain pattern, right? A certain progressive pattern that technology is taking is equivalent to making an argument that all technology is bad. I think that's just a foolish way to look at it. But again, we have to prepare for those that really control these forms of technology, but more importantly, the infrastructures they're creating and the way they're fully revolutionizing industries. That's the biggest part. Things like trucking, right? A huge industry. Things like food delivery. See, this is when technology becomes a serious problem. Peep game.
Expects autonomous tech to become more in demand as more retailers follow this trend.
The whole idea is the number of trips, the number of routes increases exponentially. So at scale, if you want to make this shift profitable, you have to use an autonomy solution like ours.
So what you have to keep in mind is that grocery is traditionally a very thin margin business, about 2 to 4%. So other retailers are also testing out this tech. Kroger testing autonomous last mile delivery with Nuro in the Houston area.
Here we go. This type of technology is rampant. Here's Nuro. There's another one. He's going to talk about a couple here. This is a new move. And all of this seems to be just conveniently sprouting up during this alleged pandemic and crisis. See, they slide in their tech under our noses, and they start to revolutionize our industries and fully change our experiences without us even really knowing. And at the same time, some of this stuff to many people looks cool and, of course, convenient.
Kroger also using automation in warehouses to offer online groceries where it does not have a brick and mortar location currently. The other supermarket chain, Albertsons, is using remote control delivery with a startup called Tortoise. Here, remote drivers actually use an Xbox controller to operate these vehicles. Tortoise says grocers can save just about approximately 60% on delivery costs using their tech. Wedbush estimates $750 billion in spending on commercial AVs over the next 5 years. If you're looking to invest in the trend, there's a couple stocks you can look at, including Aurora Innovation and TuSimple. Those are two of them. Plus, Embark and a company called Plus will reportedly complete SPAC mergers later this year. We included those tickers there as well. Brian, back over to you.
Yes, Byron Adams. Technological creep, Shawana 84. Incremental introduction. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Technological creep being key in that this is how they get it over. That's precisely how it happens. Slowly giving technology more and more access and more control of our lives and forcing us into their use because they become the integral and an intricate foundation of major industries, right? So it's like you have no choice but to use them eventually, right? Just like they're saying that IRS is going to be requiring facial biometrics just to utilize services. So you won't even be able to gain access to services without providing your facial biometrics. It's a preliminary stage. We don't know if this is actually going to happen. It's at the moment just an idea. But there's evidence out there that's saying this could be a possibility, and I'm not surprised. It's a bit soon, I'd say, but yeah, this is how they do it. Incremental technological creep.
Frank, they're going to run out of names eventually. All right, here's the question, though. So all this robotic stuff, it's very cool. Right. Is it seen more as like a way to help the labor shortage, or let's be honest, to cut costs because robots don't take sick days?
I mean, that's a great point, Brian. So let's start off with Walmart. For Walmart, I talked to them extensively. I asked them, is this a cost-cutting measure? Because remember, grocery is a thin-margin business. They said, no, this tech is more about increasing capacity and also allowing their associates to spend more time talking to customers.
What nonsense. Oh, this gives our employees more time with customers. They're making a social argument. They're saying this is going to increase our sociality because, see, the robots are going to be doing everything for us, and we're going to be sitting with nothing to do, which is going to provide us more opportunity to hang out and to conversate. Yeah. Oh, man, it's just hilarious.
Helping customers in the store, because that's another aspect where Walmart's trying to ramp up their service. They want associates to have higher level functions where they're talking to their customers that actually come in the store more often. For other chains, yes, it's a cost-cutting measure. I spoke to the people from Tortoise. The idea there for their solution is to cut costs on a 2-mile grocery delivery. They say the overwhelming majority of grocery deliveries are just within 2 miles.
And these might be good arguments. Cut costs, fuel, etc. Good arguments. But this is the point. Well, the point is, you can't always have technological solutions for human problems. There's other ways around it. The point is that it's this either or fallacy. Again, back to the logical fallacies they constantly use. Their technologies aren't the only answer and solution to some of our waste problems, right? Again, instead of utilizing and referring to human intervention to fix our problems, it's always a technological solution. And that's, in there lies the real issue.
And for many grocers, it makes more sense to use robotics as opposed to hire a person to move those groceries.
Walmart is further pulling back.
Now, let's keep it moving here. We went way over time. We're about to wrap up here. We can't go over 4 hours. Okay, so at least we finished the trucker. We finished the trucker segment. That was the last segment for truckers. And then we were going to go into more jabby jab stuff. So we'll save that for Saturday. Saturday's going to be fun. We got a lot to cover Saturday. Saturday will probably be another long show, honestly. We'll probably do at least 4. I'm sorry to give you guys too many hours here. I guess the best bet is just break them up throughout the days of the week. I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I don't really know what to do. It's just too much information, and you know, I got a mouth on me. So I got a lot to say. So I apologize, but this stuff needs to get out, man. You know, it needs to get out. And plus, I spend too much time putting it together, so it'd be just wasteful to keep it to myself, right? That'd be selfish, wouldn't it? It'd be selfish of me. All right, so let's think about this here. Let's wrap up. Let's wrap up with some conclusions here. So switching frames. We started off with the switching of frames, right? Empiricism to computer modeling. So science is no longer science. We're now practicing anti-science, non-science. We're no longer in objective reality. We're now experiencing a virtuality, non-reality by way of big tech and big pharma. Track and trace is a big part of this because eventually we are going to be integrated into the Internet of Bodies. So we have the Internet of Things, which is what the circular economy is based on. So the whole argument for the circular economy is this type of Internet of Things where we can track and trace all things, so we can properly deal with waste, and we could avoid unintentional and unnecessary waste, but also we could make things better, more efficiently, and more sustainably. If we have a type of digital system that could track and trace everything, a type of a God brain, right? This type of omnipotence, omniscience, right? That's the Internet of Things. But what's interesting about that is, in order for humans to interact in this circular economy, humans have to be integrated as well to the Internet of Bodies or Internet of People. And Roscoe says, and Internet of Thoughts. I would think that is the Internet of Behaviors, which is another aspect of all of this. There's the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies, and there's the Internet of Behaviors. I have a whole page I could go through on that, but we're not going to have time. When I do the recap on Saturday, we'll really dive into some of this stuff in the first segment, just to recap everything. And of course, personalized medicine. So possibly, just like they put Biden in to prove our government and our political system is corrupt and incompetent, just like they put barely their Biden in there to break down to make it seem as if we need to reform politics in our political system. Just like they put Fauci in there to obviously appear as if he is a liar and untrustworthy, so they can rearrange and reform the medical industry. Just like these obvious feigned examples of incompetence, they've created a situation where we could provide this clearly known inadequate, useless, and even lethal medical intervention by way of jabby jab. Just like they knew this would hurt people and create a type of system of confusion and fear and trauma, all to bring down the actual medical system, so they can rebuild the medical system and create this digitized system that's automated and to personalize medicine. So now they could say, well, you know what, we made a mistake about, giving everybody this universal poke, because clearly people are different. People have different genetic components and makeups and designs, and they're going to have different reactions. So it's best that we create a type of personalized medicine, or at least a personalized therapy for each and every person. And we could do this now because we have the AI, we have the data collection, and we have all your biometrics. So now we have the situation set. So yeah, personalized medicine being a possibility of the solution to the problem reaction of this whole CV feigned pandemic and its nonsense therapeutic technology by way of mRNA. One-size-fits-all jabs may prove dangerous and risky. Therefore, we must bring in a fourth industrial, customized care. And then we had, okay, we're going to save that. We're going to save those notes there. I just want a couple more things I wanted to say. Let's see. Let's save that. Let's save this stuff because this is quite a bit. Yeah, let's save this. Let's save this for next show. I think that'll be it, man. I think that'll be it. Actually, I think I had one more thing on this. Smart digital logistics, mass market consolidation, focusing on efficiency and sustainability, the trucking industry. Let's focus on efficiency. Remember back to the Neil Postman argument of efficiency in his work, Technopoly, and many other books of his. This never-ending concept of efficiency. Efficiency is the goal. There aren't any real means. Everything is an end, or there is no end. All that exists is different means, and the only real end is technological development, which speaks back to that logical conclusion I had mentioned. If we keep following this logic of just never-ending AI development and reproduction of human beings by way of AI and all these weird things, the logical conclusion is that human beings are no longer, for one, going to be naturally human, and two, probably will end ourselves, right? Our technology will be our end. So efficiency and sustainability, it's for the environment. There's this constant thing about environment. We have to do it for the environment, but also we have to keep continuing this efficiency plan. So technology grows and grows and grows as environment is protected more and more and more, and the human beings are slowly pushed out of the picture altogether, and we become part of this subscription-based model where life is about therapies. Life is about a continuation of a subscription-based therapy program where we are constantly getting injected with different things for reasons we don't even understand. It's just what we've been told, right? This automated system of medicine, biopolitics, biosecurity, etc. Empirical frame going to probability frame. We talked about that. Switching frames, causation, and foregoing, or should we say eliminating altogether causation as a factor in science and focusing more on correlative, predictive, and predictive data, and of course treatments opposed to preventative lifestyle. Track and trace, circular economy, subscription program, endemic. Yeah, so exactly. And the big argument now is it's endemic, right? It's endemic. It's endemic now. So everyone's going to get it. It's everywhere. It's all about. So now, it's interesting how it's endemic now, but they're not pushing back any of the restrictions, especially here in America. Things seem to continue. Now they're playing in Europe. They're playing in different areas with the ideas of removing restrictions and stuff like that. We'll see where things go. It's going to be an interesting next 6 months. We have this Canada thing now, which is huge. And I showed the trucking stuff today because I think this might have something to do with it. It just might have something to do with it. Possibly this whole caravan convoy thing has a lot to do with the new direction, the new reset, the new transition in the trucking industry, at least to a degree, right? We understand the trucking industry is going to topple overnight. But possibly they could be doing a slight breakdown or a disruption so they can come with a solution. Well, hey, guys, we have these new types of logistics and we have these new trucks, and let's just try it. Let's implement it and say 25% of the industry. And we'll give you natural truckers 75% of the industry. We'll see how things go. And slowly they'll just edge off real people and slowly develop more and more and expand more and more their automated systems because it will be efficient to the bigger companies and the corporations due to what? The software, right? Human beings are going to always be lesser than the software and the capabilities of these technologies. So it's very easy to see the route at which these things will move, or the route that these technologies will take. So, yeah, and the endemic aspect. Yeah, it's endemic. So now you're going to get it no matter what. Even though we haven't proven anything, we've yet to really show you what this thing is. We've yet to provide empirical data to prove that this is what we say it is. So just forget all that. Just don't mind any of that. Just realize now it's endemic. It's everywhere. So with that being said, we might not even have to test anymore because we're just going to assume you have it. And we're going to assume you're going to catch it sometime at some point. And really, we don't know who has it and who doesn't because our tests are kind of and everyone has it anyway, or everyone will get it anyway, so why test? What we now should focus on is just therapy. We should just assume that you already have it. So now you'll be required to get some type of updated injection. just because we think you're going to get it anyway. And you might as well take it just in case, because people are already doing that, right? They're already taking it just in case to be safe, right? To lower the potential for severe illness or the potential for hospitalization, even though they've caught nothing. They've caught nothing, but they still take it anyways, or just to get it into work or to gain access to an airplane, right? Or to travel to another, or to gain access to another state, or not state, but another country. So the whole endemic argument is very manipulative and interesting, because now it relieves them of all responsibility, of all the lies, of everything that has happened over the past 2 years. And it also sheds light on the point we've been making from the very beginning, that this thing is no different from the common cold, contrary to what we've heard throughout studies and scare tactics in the media, and even everyday people that have their anecdotal examples of why this thing is really what they say it is. It's everywhere now. We don't need to test you anymore. I mean, that's just wasting money at this point. Why don't you just stay home, and we'll provide tests for you at home if you need them. We have all these new forms of technology to do that, and they make money there too, right? So just stay home and take your test if you're scared, or if you need access, if you work in a certain industry that requires tests, because many will continue to do it because there's dogs in the fight. There's a financial angle here, of course, for them. So it's not like they will get rid of tests, but they might be required less, because they're so plentiful, right? They're everywhere. The access to tests will be the access to tests will increase because of new forms of tests, new technologies, quicker testing, right? As I've showed you earlier, and a less accurate, of course. Or we understand there's no accuracy at all because all of this thing seems to be a ruse. But so it's endemic. So now we actually can tell everybody that they have to get the juice, because you're going to get it anyway. And there's no way we can tell if you have it or not. And actually, if you don't get it, if everyone doesn't get it, our hospitals will overflow. And we want to move out of hospitals anyways, so we will have to lock you in your homes or force you into a type of quarantine. Or we might even have rolling quarantines. Every 3 months, lockdown to slow the spread, or should we say, lessen the severity of illness, and to keep our hospitals functioning properly. But also we want to put you inside, maybe have rolling lockdowns or incremental lockdowns, short-term lockdowns for different reasons or whatever, just so we can build our home hospital digital infrastructure and train our AI to collect your data. Once we build up the AI enough, we'll have the data we need to create AI doctors. And then we could really start to change the medical industry. That's down the line. This could be what we see, especially when I hear this endemic thing. Oh, it's endemic now. It's like, oh, wow, okay. We're just supposed to forget about everything? We're just supposed to forget everything that has happened for the past 2 years? Is that what you're telling me now? I'm just supposed to be, okay, roll up my sleeve now because it's endemic? Yet you've proven nothing to me outside of correlative, model-based, computer-generated graphs and pictures and silly numbers that no one really understands. And everyone that you've showed me, every expert that you've put in front of me, is directly related to not only big pharma, but the state, the government, and also massive corporations and big tech and even social media. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. It's like, who in their right mind is going to believe any of this stuff at this point? I mean, these things are not too hard to put together. I mean, no conspiracy theories needed. Everything is pretty factual at this point as far as the connectivity of it all. Interesting. So we're going to be back. We're going to be back Saturday with a full show, another full show. Bear with us as usual. I thank you all for being with me. Love you all. Appreciate you all. Again, thank you to all of those that support the show and keep this thing going, keep us growing, keep us developing, getting better and better, more and more. And I'm not going to stop working. In fact, I just work harder. The more you guys support, the harder I work. I hope my work shows that. So thanks to all the mods, all the supporters, all the new Patreons, Those who support through PayPal, Cash App, I really appreciate you guys. It means a lot. Everything is in our faces, Kenny Best. Exactly. I mean, they're so confident. They really gained control. They really gotten that power. But they haven't got us all. You can fool all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of us all the time. What you guys will come up with it? Something like that. But that makes sense right now. You can fool some of the people all of the time. I don't know. I'm having my George Bush moment here. Anyhow, I need some food. All praises to the Most High God. And again, I thank you all for being with me. But as always, in Jesus' name, amen and shalom.